Came the Hashif.
Hag mad that life. Kim the Hashif hey.
I have a great that believe. Three and ten of a horse.
That's Misha Cathy Campbell.
I guess Colaisde how.
Sound in a Helen and Jerica, a Hammy.
I guess Catching Jack the Huckle.
Haim a Huckle, Owen Hoodney.
I guess for this I could change someone you hacked.
Well, and a Tuv Mohennet, Campbell, she was a Ceiteag, Nick Iain, Nick Peadair, Iain, Eachann. I guess an Tuv and a Domhnuill, she Ceiteag, Nick Auna, Iain, Don, Eachann. Oh, Dully, Hammy Dully, Iain, a reached.
I guess, what's the handic and what you like it?
Handic, a Domhnuill, egg. I guess, smanik me, handic a Campbell, Ida Barai.
I guess it is a son found Gaelic Aka. What is your name?
My name is Cathy Campbell.
And where are you from?
I'm from Red Islands.
And where were you brought up?
I was brought up in Sydney River.
And can you tell us some of your genealogy?
Well, on the Campbell side, my grandfather, his name was Peter. His father before him was Iain, then another Iain, and then, oh, Dully, I'm making mistakes. It was Peter, then Iain, then Peter, then Iain, then Hector. That's the Campbell side. And then on the MacDonald side, my grandmother, Annie, her father, Big John, Iain, and then Iain, then Donald, and then Hector, MacDonald.
On the MacDonald side, I understand they have Gaelic roots.
That's right.
Can you talk about that a little bit?
My grandmother's father, he was known as the Big John, or her family was known as the Big Johns, and they lived in on the Shore Road in Little Gaidhlig. Originally, though, from Port Hood area. The big family, my grandmother was the oldest of 9, and she lived at home, actually lived in Port Hood and Port Hawkesbury, and married my grandfather, Peter Campbell, in Windsor, Ontario, and eventually made it back to Cape Breton. Right. Yeah.
So those MacDonalds, I understand, are styled as the Bachgan MacDonalds.
That's correct, yes.
In the book Fairest the Isle.
That's right.
And there's a connection there to that book, to John Colin MacDonald, who wrote that book along with Mildred, his
That's
wife.
correct, yes. John Colin was my grandmother's brother. Yes. Yeah. And I just recently came across, although I met him before, Claire MacDonald is the son of Johnny MacDonald, another brother of my grandfather. Right. Or my grandmother, yeah.
So then I asked where your people came from the old country.
Yeah, well,
from Scotland.
My grandmother's always mentioned the Isle of Eachann. Yeah. And this past summer, I actually made a trip to the Isle of Eachann when I was in Scotland. And there's not too many Gaelic speakers left, but did make it to their little library, and the book Fairest the Place was there. Wow. I believe John Colin had donated it.
Right.
Yeah.
So on the Campbell side, where did they come from in Scotland?
Well, the Campbell side, the MacDonald side goes back, the book covers everything, goes back to the 1300s. The Campbells, a little sketchier, we're not sure. The story was the two brothers, the Pioneer brothers, came from Barra. Whether or not that's where they were from, they were Campbells on Barra, but the hills behind where my grandfather grew up were known as the Coolins. So the people call them the Coolins. They're not called officially the Coolins. So then we thought, well, maybe it's it's the Isle of Skye that they came from. We're not sure. The Cuillins, there's a couple of mountain ranges on the Isle of Skye that are named the Cuillins. The red Cuillins, I think, and the black Cuillins. Okay. And we just thought that connection, because Skye had these mountain ranges that whoever came to Red Islands named these hills after the red mountain range.
Okay, you have some pictures there, Cathy, that you'd like to share, some family photos.
Yeah, I do. I thought what I would do is show a picture of my dad. I have one of him in 1991, since he was the person I felt got me started on the Gaelic route. Here he is. This is John Sylvester Campbell. He grew up in Red Islands, and this picture is taken at the cottage in Red Islands with my two of my children many years ago. The little girl here is now 29. Anyway, so that's my dad, Campbell. So I thought maybe what I would do is show some pictures on the Campbell side, if that's okay. The first picture I have here, let me see, right here above my finger is my dad when he was about 18 or 19. The shorter man behind the tombstone is his dad, Peter F. Campbell. And this fella here is a John MacDonald. He's a first cousin. Well, he's married to my grandfather's sister. But anyway, the significance of this picture, Murdoch MacNeill's tombstone. It's in Red Islands, but he died of smallpox, and they didn't bury those that died with smallpox in the regular cemetery. So this is way off the grid. Right today, the tombstone is there, but it's surrounded by trees. So he was a MacNeill. He was my grandfather's grandfather, a MacNeill from Big Pond, Murdoch MacNeil. So that's that picture. The other picture I have is of when my grandfather, again taken in Red Islands.
And these are Campbells.
These are the Campbells. So this fella right here is John P. Campbell, my grandfather's father. My grandfather here, Peter Campbell. This is Jimmy. This is Margaret, his sister. And this is his mother, Elizabeth. And she was a MacNeill before then. And this fellow over here, I think, is Danny, another brother. But this is in the old homestead in Red Islands.
What a great picture.
Yeah, many years ago.
And they were well dressed.
I think it was probably, they only dressed well one day a week, maybe to church.
Sunday best.
Yeah. And then the final picture on the Campbell side is, again, of my grandfather, Peter Campbell. He's here with the hat on. And sitting in the chair is his mother, Elizabeth Campbell. This is the little one is a cousin, Anne Marie, my aunt's oldest daughter. So I'm not sure when this picture but it would have been in the 50s anyway, when this was taken, and it was out front by the old home, the old house outside the porch. Everybody sat in a chair. All the old people came out and sat in that kitchen chair. So that's the Campbell side.
Nice. Very nice. So this side now is...
This is the Big John, the MacDonald side. My grandmother, Annie, grew up in Little Gléidheadh.
Their father's mother.
My father's mother, Annie MacDonald. And her father, these are her parents here. This is Big John.
Okay, you
lowered. Big John and Mary Ellen. Mary Ellen also was MacDonald.
Oh, that's great. Yes.
Yeah. And this is my grandmother's brother, Johnny. So that picture, you can see the car, Model T's, probably in the 30s.
So that's Johnny Big John.
Johnny Big John, yeah. That's that shot.
And they lived on the Shore Road.
The Shore Road, that's correct. And now in this picture, again, the lady in the center with the polka dot dress is my grandmother, Annie. Annie Campbell, but was a MacDonald. Her mother is beside her. And the children, my father here, John, and this is Betty, and this is Mary, his two older sisters. This picture was taken in Little Gléidheadh, probably down on the Shore Road.
And where Annie Campbell was from?
Little Gàidhlig. Yeah, that's where she grew up. She was the oldest of 9. A couple more pictures. This one here is taken at the old house. The lady in the black, I believe, is my grandmother's grandmother. My grandmother's mother, Mary Ellen, is here sitting with the daughter, a girl in her lap. So it's just nice to see the generations. Her mother sitting next to her. There's a couple more pictures. This one is again in Little Gàidhlig, and Johnny here is my grandmother's brother with my cousins
Johnny
on the
John.
his Big John's son Johnny. And then one final picture. I think this was taken. It might have been taken in Windsor. It was before my grandmother got married. This is Annie. Okay. Annie May, but Annie MacDonald, and her 2 sisters. Very formal picture. But wonderful. She was a tall lady, actually. She was probably close to 5'11".
Really?
Yeah, 5'11". So, but anyway, so those
pictures are special indeed.
Yeah, they are.
So, as the Gaelic, catching Jeff and Skull.
Well, Heine and Skull, Riverview in junior high. More than on a Westmount. More than Riena Rasht, I guess. Station. I on a Ojai Dalhousie. And Arshvalla, Halifax.
I guess Canada Hodo Elvis at the Gaelic. How were you introduced to Gaelic?
Well, Raonuill mo henner hennever Peadair is Auna a bhríon Gaelic bec goan a facal noga, maple bec, kimna hashu, shorsha fachlin. I guess as a child, I really didn't have any Gaelic. I didn't have any interest in it, and it wasn't until I was in Halifax that I thought I have to do something about getting more in touch with my culture, and Gaelic was the way to go. So I started in Halifax.
Was there any one person that may have inspired you to do that? One
I think, well, no, I think it was my father. My father, John Campbell, he was taking Gaelic lessons, and he wanted me to take Gaelic lessons as a teenager, and I didn't want anything to do with it. So, shame on me, but
that changed.
That changed. I think it was when he got sick, and then he passed. Well, before that, but when he was sick, I sort of felt guilty for not having that interest. So I really, in all honesty, started my Gaelic, looking for Gaelic because of him, because I wanted to please him. And initially that's the reason why I started learning Gaelic. And then once I got into it, then it became less him and more me.
You discovered the secret.
I discovered something. But that's the truth. It was more to please him and make atone for my lack of interest when I was younger.
And isn't it true? There's more to it than meets the eye or the ear.
Always.
Yeah. I guess and Ron Gaelic comes to Scott and knew about
Harrow.
I guess in Ron mutual the chi and Guthan at Katie and Ron Gaelic.
Harrow, Gíric Beckin, Fachel Noga, Eachann time o Henivet.
And be a go could have been cool concerts. There's Raonuill Gaelic, no skits, no Guthan machine.
Leis maithir, Scottish concerts, Glendale, agus the Highland Village of Wam, agus ha program radio Sydney. Hanya listen.
Island Echoes.
Island Echoes.
Yes, I listened to that too on Saturday night.
Cares, hurt matter. Island Echoes radio, I guess, holding me, Gaelic, no Creole.
Special.
Well,
the Gaelic, Gaelic at the radio. I guess, Kobe Shane and the Cullinan Q, at the radio. Kind of?
No, Haniel. Ma henner han anium ed nura kurt misha J fackle like Gwonian agus ma henner hain ma henner hania Oran. There's a word for what that was when you would put a child on your knee and he would silly words pushed out of Gaelic.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Pushed the veal,
yeah. I guess, but that's it. No, I had no interest truly to listen to Gaelic when I was a teenager.
And was there any musical talent in the family? Were people that played the fiddle or the piano? Or...
Yeah, not really. My grandfather has a violin that he played. I don't ever remember him playing.
Which grandfather?
My Campbell, Peadair Campbell. And it was hung up in the attic for years and years. And he bought it out of the Eaton's catalogue. He wrote inside it, August 1917. So it's almost 100 years old.
Wow.
So I started learning to play the violin when I was 40. Too late to learn to play the violin. Because I'm not a musician, but I've taken lessons and I can play a bit, but I would never play in public.
So you inherited this violin?
Well, I did, yeah. So I cherish it. I haven't played it for a little while, but I plan to pick it up again.
Yes. That's good. And what about your daughters? You have 3 daughters and 1 son, you told me.
Yes.
Are any of them, did any of those have any interest in Gaelic or in singing or in dancing?
Yeah. Well, I tried very hard when they were growing up to get them involved in music, because I thought that was important. So my oldest actually was in a pipe band, the 78 Highlanders. She played the bagpipes for quite a few years, and when she stopped high school she put them aside, but she has some talent there. She's of all of the 4, she's the one that is interested in the Gaelic culture and has a good grasp of picking up languages, so she does have some. She also has 2 of my grandchildren, and the first words I ever spoke to them, both of them, David and Margaret, or Dai agus Myra, they were in Gaelic.
Great.
Yeah, so I try my best to speak to them in Gaelic when I see them.
And what is your daughter's name?
Hillary Mueller.
Okay, and the others are?
Peter. No lack of imagination in the Campbell side, but anyway, Peter, and then Sophie and Gabby is the youngest.
Excellent. Yeah. So now, Cathy, can you tell us a bit about your background, your career?
Well, I left the island in 1979. I went to Halifax. I went to university, Dalhousie, and I have my nursing degree, and spent most of my adult life in Halifax. I worked at the old VG site, and then stayed home for a little bit, and then went and joined VON, so Victorian Order of Nurses. So I've been doing that for the last 14 years, and then recently moved back to Cape Breton, and have recently started with the VON again in Sydney.
Great.
Yeah.
Nish Iain a Gléidheadh Gaelic. Can you tell us how you furthered your knowledge of Gaelic? In Halifax, I think you mentioned to me earlier.
Yeah.
You took some classes and workshops.
I did. I've been, since I started, I have a hard time remembering when I started, at least 10 years ago. But since I've started, I've been involved. I've followed the school year, basically. So I've had classes from September through till June, and I've gone to immersions in the summer, been many visits to the Gaelic College. Debbie Sobey, Shay McMullen have classes in New Glasgow area. I've done those. I did a trip in 2009 with Kathleen Reddy. Our Gaelic group went out for 3 weeks, so we went to Scotland and Salmarostic for a week. Numerous of the board of Scoil Gaelic in Arshdevala in Halifax. I was a member of the board there for about 5 or 6 years, maybe. My role there, I guess, was fundraising, and we did some milling frolics and song circles. I don't know. Are
you a member of the Gaelic Council?
I am. Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I am. It's just been my initiation was at Lewis McKinnon. I don't know. He's in Halifax area. Immersion weekends, immersion Saturdays. Went from 10 until 4, and that was my first opportunity to study Gaelic. I have a story about just my experience with Gaelic and where I am with it. By no means am I fluent or anything like that, but I've put an awful lot of hours into learning and to be around Gaelic speaking people. But anyway, so it's brought me to places or doing things that I probably would never have done otherwise. One of those was in 2014 when Prince Philip and Prince Charles and Camilla came to Nova Scotia, to Pictou area. Katrina Parsons asked me to sing, to lead the song in the milling demonstration they were going to do. And it's a popular song, I guess. I'd never sung before I got this song, so Gaelic brought me out into the world that way. But anyway, so it was a song. It was called Oran Pheadair Chaimbeul, and it was written by Hughie Mackenzie. And it's a song written about my grandfather, Peter Campbell, from Red Islands. So anyway, Katrina gathered a group of people. Some came from Halifax, some came from Pictou, to be part of the milling presentation. And so we were all there. It was a cold morning. We were all there around the milling table, and they had set up different venues. The sheep were there, so for the prince to look at, and then it was an old lady at the spinning wheel, and then it went to the where they would weave the cloth, and then it was us with the milling cloth. So we got word that the prince had arrived, and okay, so we're all ready to go. And Katrina, Gavoran Ceiteag, Gavoran. So I start singing this song, Oran Pheadair Chaimbeul. And it has 15 verses, and up to that point I've never sung all the verses. I can't remember all 15. So I started singing the song, and we all doing the milling to the song. And we made it through. Well, the prince hadn't arrived yet. He didn't make it to our spot. So Hirsch Katrina reached Ceiteag, Gavoran. So I sang it again. And he was coming. My back was to him, but he was coming closer and closer, and finally made it through the 15 verses again. And finally, he and Camilla were at our table, and I was able to stop. But I had never sung twice in a row the 15 verses. So to me, I thought that was so funny. I thought my father and grandfather were somewhere in the air around me, giving me the strength to get through the song twice intact. Anyway, so getting back to the things that Gaelic has brought allowed me to do, suddenly here I am, sitting next to me is Prince Charles, having a bit of a conversation with me about where to find whiskey in Nova Scotia. Anyway, I told him. But it's just, I'm having fun. It's just fun. I'm not, certainly, that's not anything that I would think as a real important thing. I just think it's so crazy that I'm sitting next to the prince because I'm singing a Gaelic song. It's, if you want to say that's the great part, I don't know if it's so great. Another association with the same song is Rod C. McNeill. He collected a huge collection of songs by Hughie Mackenzie, one of them being Oran Pheadair Chaimbeul. He loves that song, and he comes to Johnstown Milling Frolic, and we sit together, and he helps me sing that song, and he loves it. He laughs, so there's a couple of crazy verses. So to me, being able to sing with Rod C is more important than the Prince Charles sitting next to me. So I would say, the amazing amount of wonderful people that Gaelic has allowed me to be around, I think is probably my story. Yes,
indeed.
Yeah.
Well, that's a very special story, and thank you for sharing it.
Okay. I'll sing a bit of Oran Pheadair Chaimbeul. I won't sing the 15 verses, but I can sing a couple. The song, up until I started learning Gaelic, I never sang. And there was a Laurie McKinnon who was collecting songs, and she found this song, and she came to Johnstown one year. I wasn't there that summer at their milling frolic, and she was asking if anybody knew a Peadair Campbell. Anyway, so it turned out that it was all about my grandfather, written by Hughie Mackenzie. They worked together at Build Right Homes in Sydney, and my grandfather, the bit about the story behind the scenes was my grandfather was a carpenter, and he was renowned for doing finishing work, primarily on churches. And he did a lot of work in Johnstown at Sacred Heart. And the priest that was there at the time was transferred to Gléidheadh, and they were building a church there, and he wanted no one but my grandfather to go and do the altar and all the finishing stuff inside. So he took a leave of absence and went to Gléidheadh to do this carpentry work. And while he was gone, Hughie Mackenzie wrote this song. And it's a very funny song. It's as if my grandfather disappeared off the face of the earth. Where did he go? And people were looking for him. And finally he came back. When he came back, the song was presented to my grandfather. I never heard about this song, and there's a verse at the end that probably is a good indication of why we never heard of it in the family. But anyway, it's all about if the old woman won't give you a kiss, the young lady sure will. So the old woman probably was my grandmother, and that's maybe why we didn't know about the song. But anyway, so Laurie McKinnon gave that to me, and then I started. So I can sing a couple of verses. It's a milling song, so it's okay. The chorus, I'll start with the chorus and then maybe just sing a couple of verses. Hannigan gie durayagan valash of a tuig is talis savskin haring a Hannigan gie durayagan valasha a ferre graya vegan nach is shogut moav is gra is keren tak Hannigan gie durayagan valash of a tuig is tal is savskin haring a Hannigan gie durayagan valasha. That's two choruses in one verse. It's just the verse or the chorus is, there came to the town one night a dark lad with his tools. He had his saw, his adze, and that's sung all the way through the song. So it's a lovely song. It really is.
Uplifting tempo to it.
It has a good good milling beat to it. Yeah.
Tappel for some. So how Ella at the
Han in the Wine Son of Maigad. It was written by Dan Alex MacDonald, sang a framboise, a vari, and it's about just how he felt about where he grew up, Framboise, the beautiful country, the people, when he was young. So it's a few verses. Maybe I'll just sing the first two, and it's really a lovely song. What he did, he would write poems, and then he would put the poems to, like a lot of Gaelic songs, to the music or the sound of another Gaelic song. So, okay. So, Nuva Sheena Trangora Kunyo is he and Nuj Kunkaram is on wine on Chaimbeul is one soon Utrik Riklik is boshing Trojanag Viri moon O Iain son of Maigad Nuva Sheena one soon Hail Mathin Henry Oil Sandruken var and your Be grin and specie Jesuk Skagni mar hergit biau Be on a choil gefal John Scumbau ein line and kjol For shit van dur mi merok Sa hook gan swanch mi av Utri Gefeske goni a hija shin na grun fault na kupel kan is drek na hoik na grush and you har kine liag and jiken she sahush or hik hanush gunhiri hamiaglis esul. So that's 3 of the verses of 6.
Very
I think.
good. Excellent. That's a beautiful song.
It is very lovely, yeah.
Now that song is on a recording.
That's right.
By Margot Carruthers.
That's correct, yes.
And the CD is called Talent na Bird, The Talent of the Birds, Gaelic Songs from Nova Scotia. So the lyrics are on that CD and the liner notes.
That's right.
It's nice to have the lyrics for that as well.
Yes, it is, yeah. I actually got the song from Betty Lord.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, she had it in a singing class that she does. So.
I see. Great. I'd like to ask you now about your trip to Scotland. Can you tell us a bit about that, the year you went and what you saw there? And
well, I've gone twice now. In 2009, there's a small group of Gaelic learners from Halifax went over. We had a week at Salmarostig, and Kathleen Reddy at the time was working in South Uist. She was teaching. So we did a little bit of sightseeing the first couple of days and then went to Salmarostig, just a Gaelic language course for that week. And then for the remainder of the 10 days, we actually stayed with Kathleen on South Uist, and she took us around the islands. And we went to Beara, South Uist, Harris, North Uist, with the whole Sheen. I guess she introduced us to her friends, many of who had Gaelic as their first language and still spoke it. She set up a lot of daily activities that went around using the Gaelic language. So that was wonderful. My second trip was last year, 2016. I actually got a bursary to go to Salmarostig for a couple of weeks. So I took a week ahead and a week after those 2 weeks, and I drove around on my own, went around Scotland. At Salmore, I did a week of language, and then Christine Primrose, a week of her singing class, of course. So it was great. The second week, a few other Nova Scotians came over, and it was good to have people, familiar people.
Yes.
And yeah, it was great. It was beautiful. The weather wasn't so wonderful, but it was lovely. Yeah, to be able to and use it too. I actually Flora MacDonald's grave site. We went there, and there was a little shop, a Boo Beck, in Gaelic Avrin. They were talking to each other in Gaelic very, very quickly. So I thought, well, I'm going to try doing my best. And I did, and they slowed down a little bit, and I was able to have a conversation in Gaelic about where I was from, and they were telling me in Gaelic that they listened to their radio, the Gaelic radio program that they have, and they heard interviews of Nova Scotians speaking Gaelic, and thought that the Gaelic, the dual French was very similar between the two. So it was nice to be able to use the Gaelic in public, so to speak. Yeah. So.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Yeah.
So will you plan to go back again? Do you have a chance?
Oh, maybe. It won't be for a little while, but I think I'll focus around home for now.
Good.
Yeah.
Good. So you're taking some classes around the area right now, and can you tell us a bit about that?
Well, there's yourself, Pauline, has a class in Port Hawkesbury that I joined late because I didn't know about it. And Stacey McLean had a class. We weren't able, it happened in the winter time, so that was cut short because of the weather. Looking for opportunities. I'm on the side of the island that there's not a lot of Gaelic spoken. So it's really difficult. I'm finding it difficult to find opportunities to speak and to practice. Betty Lord, again, her singing classes have started up, so I go to there on a weekly basis, and it's just, I'm just looking for opportunities, I guess. It's a little hard working, and different things come up and I can't go because of work, so it's just been a little bit frustrating that way, but
well, there'll be lots of events on now for Gaelic Awareness Month.
Exactly.
And, summertime, you'll have Fate
Exactly.
And
yes.
Milling Frolics in
Johnstown.
Nabu, and
I plan to attend them all if I can.
Well, I feel very fortunate to have you in the Gaelic class in Port Hawkesbury at Skull Gaelic Bella and Quabbin, so I'm very, very happy about that. So. Now, in English, I'd like to ask, what sort of changes have you seen over the years with Gaelic since you became involved?
Well, from my perspective, from going from not really thinking about Gaelic or the culture in that way, I've seen it grow. It's especially with Gaelic Awareness Month, but you just, there's so many things. If you look online, there are so many events and things and classes that are happening. You hear about them. You know, if you wanted to learn Gaelic, all you would have to do is go online, and there would be something there for you that you could. The Gaelic College, classes like yourself, and then when you were online yourself, giving all that information as to what was going on in the Gaelic world. I don't know if it's naive for me to say, but I see that it's growing little by little by little. Exciting to hear, Mabu area, young families that have their children first language is Gaelic. I don't know if it's ever going to come back as to how it was here in Nova Scotia, but I think there's hope that it's at least hold its own. There seems to be great interest in, especially the young people, youngsters, participating and learning the culture, and I'll call it the culture because it's everything to do, language is culture. So, So,
and the music and the singing play a big part.
Oh, all of it. Yeah, it's all part. It's all the language, the singing, the music, it's all part of the Gaelic culture. Yeah.
So what future do you see for Gaelic in the years to come?
Well, I'd like to be optimistic and say it's going to continue to grow little by little as it has. It certainly, I think, hasn't reached its full potential. I don't know. I think it's good. I think it's moving in the right direction. Yeah.
Well, if the registration is any indication that at the Gaelic College for the March break session, that was very encouraging, and the numbers that came out of the young people that
is
attended.
It's amazing.
Over 100.
Over 100. Yeah, amazing to see that. That's just astounding. Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
And they're so fortunate to have it in some of the schools.
That's true.
Yeah. So do you have any advice yourself for Gaelic learners?
Well, from our point of view, stick to it.
Yes.
Some get the Gaelic really quickly. They have opportunity and incentive to really work hard. And then, but I think no matter where you are in your learning, whether you're fluent or not, you're always learning. So I'm not fluent. I have a fair amount, but just stick to it and look for opportunities to learn and to use your language, and don't be afraid to speak it and make mistakes. Pop English words in if you don't know what they are in Gaelic. You'll get your point across, and hopefully whoever you're speaking to will correct you. And just keep going and have fun. I think that's probably one of the most important things I have had is fun. You meet wonderful people, and the whole experience. That's just what it is.
It has enriched your life.
Oh my gosh, more than I can say. Yeah, it's been great.
Well, that's a good testimonial. And do you have anything else you'd like to add before we end the interview today?
I don't think so. I don't know. No, it's just been a great experience, and I would encourage anybody that even just would have a small little thought that they would like to participate in what I call the Gaelic culture, whether it be song or language or dance, all part of it. It'll enrich your life. So.
Oh, that's great. Well, I'd like to thank you, Cathy, on behalf of the Gaelic College, for participating in this interview today and sharing all your thoughts and your knowledge and your beautiful singing talent.
Thank you.
And your words of encouragement for learners. It's really a good thing all around, and I wish you all the best.
Thank you.
Agus Dachas can be Calum Eachann.
Oh, be. Agus Suas leis Gàidhlig.
Suas leis Gàidhlig. Gléidheadh.